As the young pastor of that inner city church, I was beginning to realize that the blessing of God is something very real and tangible. It can change a man's life, transform a neighborhood, invigorate a church, and even alter the course of history. Often, it is given to the most unlikely people, like a friend of mine whose life seemed cursed from the start. He's a great example of the difference God can make. Perched on a hill high above the village of Las Piedras was a house dedicated to the powers of darkness. Inside lived a family that earned its living through practicing sorcery, holding census, and trafficking with evil spirits. The father, a large man who was feared throughout Puerto Rico, was known as the Great One. His wife assisted in the work and bore him 18 children, 17 sons, and a lone daughter. The house on the hill became a favored lodging place for mediums and spiritualists throughout the island. One of the children was especially affected by growing up in that house. He feared the sorcery practiced there and resented the lack of attention. He felt as one among so many children. He got into trouble early and often. One day, his father caught him stealing from his mother's purse. As punishment, the 5-year-old was locked in a filthy little pigeon house. The boy tried frantically to escape, but only succeeded in exciting the birds, who slammed into his little body as they flew around in the darkness. After his father released him, the boy cried hysterically for several hours. The ordeal caused him repeated nightmares. This son, out of all the others, seemed marked for evil. When he was 8 years old, his mother proclaimed that he was not her son, but a son of Satan, a child of the devil. When he yelled back in anger, "I hate you," she merely laughed in his face. He was a cursed child in a house of curses. The boy grew quickly into an uncontrollable rebel. He tried running away from home on 5 occasions, and the hatred he felt for his parents turned into contempt for all authority. Unable to deal with their troubled son, his parents sent him to New York City at the age of 15. Upon arriving at the airport, he quickly disappeared into the streets for 2 days. Relatives there eventually enrolled him in school, but he was expelled after repeatedly threatening students, teachers, and the school's principal. Soon after that, he left his relative's home and took up living on the street in one of the toughest neighborhoods in the city. The young man's life continued to cycle downward. What else could happen to a kid who had been cursed by his own mother, abused by a father who was a satanic priest, and dedicated to the devil? Nicky Cruz soon became the warlord of a vicious street gang called the Mouse. The smoldering rage inside him found expression in violence, crime, and bloodshed. He was a twisted psychopath who frightened even his friends. A police psychiatrist told him after an evaluation that he was in a fast track to the electric chair. Then one day God sent a street preacher named David Wilkerson, who dared to proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ to him. Incredibly, the gang leader surrendered his life to Christ. The change was instantaneous. Instead of being full of tortured, self-destructive rage, the young man became filled with love and compassion for hopeless cases, kids like him who seemed bent on destroying themselves. Before long, Nicky began attending a Bible school in California, where he met his future wife. Later, Nicky returned to Puerto Rico and witnessed the conversion of his mother, Over time, the Lord opened doors all over the world for him to share his story, and he became one of the greatest evangelists of his generation. Untold thousands of people have been led to Christ by this man, once dedicated to the devil. Today, his four daughters and their husbands and children are all serving the Lord. The curse on Nicky Cruz was real, but God's blessing canceled the curse.